Ryan Garcia stands on a stage in Times Square, leaning forward just enough to let the bright lights catch the adrenaline coursing through his veins. There's an energy to the crowd, a subtle roar laced with curiosity and anticipation. Here is the fighter who has captured public imagination with blistering speed and a left hook capable of ending matches in mere seconds. Yet people still wonder, is he truly unstoppable or is his defense too fragile against a counterpuncher who just won't quit? Not far from him, Rolando Romero shifts his weight from one foot to the other. Despite the smile tugging at his lips, he's all tension. He stares at Garcia, both trying to read the other's next move. Their rivalry isn't fueled by personal grudges alone. It's about opportunity, money, and a chance for each to either prove himself worthy or expose the other as overrated. Romero's knockout power is no secret. His unpredictability sends shivers through opposing corners, and he thrives on capitalizing the moment someone doubts him. Even though many view him as an underdog, he has a knack for reminding everyone that an underdog can still bite. Observing all this drama is Floyd Mayweather, his gaze unwavering. He's the master of both technique and mental warfare, and his words linger around every press conference like a ghost. What he says carries weight. Ryan Garcia credits Mayweather with nudging him toward important career changes. Once upon a time, Garcia had different plans for his next fight, but after some quiet, persuasive talks, he pivoted. Now he's staring down Romero, a choice he made with Mayweather's advice echoing in his mind. Mayweather insists Garcia tighten his defense and avoid the biggest pitfall in boxing, relying on raw talent without building a fortress of technique. It's a strategy that carried Mayweather through an undefeated career, and if Garcia listens, maybe he too will become a name that echoes for decades. But that's only if he survives Romero's power shots. The stakes soar even higher when Oscar de la Hoya joins the fray. He's mapping out Garcia's future. Bigger matchups, massive paydays, and a potential rematch with Devin Haney. De La Hoya envisions Garcia's left hook thunder crashing through Romero's defenses, ending the night in spectacular fashion. Yet he can't help raising eyebrows at what might happen if Garcia isn't careful. That's the biggest question swirling around fight fans. Can Garcia keep his cool to the pocket, or will Romero's relentless aggression force him off his game plan? Recent controversies only add more fuel. Garcia's troubled weight cuts, that fiasco with Haney, and swirling speculation about doping all call his legitimacy into question. According to official records, his last meeting with Haney ended in a no contest after substances were discovered in Garcia's system. Substances that stunned everyone. Was it an accident or were deeper motives at play? Gossip never takes a night off in boxing, and these whispers paint Garcia's return as a make or break moment. If he dominates Romero, many will forgive or forget. If he stumbles, it's open season on his reputation. Romero is no stranger to chatter either. People talk about how he struggled making weight in previous fights or how he got knocked out by Isaac Cruz. Still, he's standing here, defiant, strong, and unafraid to gamble for a big payday against a fighter many regard as boxing's next golden child. He knows that in this sport, the right highlight reel knockout can launch a career from mid-card to main event overnight. Romero also understands that if he fails, there's a line of critics waiting to say they saw it coming. The tension is thick enough to slice. Mayweather cautions that this bout is more than just Ryan's punching power or Romero's bravado. It's a contest of patience, adaptability, and defensive brilliance. Mayweather's voice resonates in interviews, telling Garcia that if he sticks to fundamentals, footwork, distance control, and measured aggression, Romero's unpredictability might come undone. He warns of the mental aspect, too, noting that the fighter who keeps his composure when the punches start flying is often the one who has his arm raised in the end. And Mayweather would know. His entire career was proof that a disciplined strategy can wear down even the most stubborn brawler. Garcia, for his part, claims he's learned from mistakes. He mentions how he drank and smoked before a previous fight, an admission that still lingers in the minds of fans who question his commitment. He says those days are behind him. He wants to show everyone he's a true professional, someone who can juggle personal struggles and still emerge stronger. Publicly, he says this fight with Romero is a stepping stone to bigger things, but privately, he might see it as a platform to prove his worth, beyond the hype, beyond the chatter, beyond the Instagram following. For a while, the rumor mill suggested Garcia was more celebrity than fighter, but stepping into the ring with Romero is about as real as it gets. Meanwhile, bystanders and analysts all have something to say. Teofimo Lopez points out that Romero still carries dynamite in his fists, capable of shifting the energy in a single moment. Abel Sanchez critiques Romero's progress, suggesting he hasn't leveled up in the ways Garcia has. Gervonta Davis, who's fought both men, warns that Romero might surprise people if he can land solid shots. They may disagree on the final outcome, but they agree on one thing: fans should expect a fast-paced, high-tension battle that could end suddenly. As the weigh-in day approaches, people from all backgrounds and places gather around Times Square for a glimpse of the fighters. Amid the bustling crowd, a 50-year-old brown-skinned Pakistani father arrives with his three 30-year-old sons. They've traveled far to witness the spectacle. The father admires boxing for its storied traditions. He's told his sons countless tales of upsets and legendary champions. Spotting Garcia, the father comments on the aura surrounding the young fighter, how Garcia carries himself with a slight smirk, confident in his power. One of his sons, wearing a baseball cap with Garcia's signature embroidered, points out how Romero looks anything but intimidated. They all laugh nervously, sensing the electric tension in the air. For them, this fight is a dream trip, a chance to see a potentially iconic showdown in person. They wave at the fighters, catch a brief nod from Garcia, and feel that in this brief connection lies the magic of the sport. Two men set to clash, but fans from across the globe enthralled by the same question: who will emerge victorious? In that moment, security ushers them along, reminding everyone to keep moving. The father mentions how Mayweather's breakdown gave him a deeper insight into the tactical complexities, and one of the sons wonders if Garcia's left hook can really end things early. Another son plays devil's advocate, suggesting Romero might grind out a victory with unrelenting pressure. Their discussion blends into the larger hum of conversations swirling around Times Square. Everyone has a prediction, but no one knows for sure. Then they disappear into the throng, leaving only an echo of their excitement. The fight belongs to Garcia and Romero now. Night falls and the pre-fight show takes over. The bright screens and the square flash highlight reels, Garcia's lightning-fast knockouts, Romero's earth-shaking power shots. The crowd roars at each punch replay. It's part hype machine, part raw tension. Cameras pan to Oscar de la Hoya, who stands on a platform, fielding questions about how Garcia's future might hinge on this night. De la Hoya doesn't mince words. He expects a knockout. He believes Garcia's speed will overwhelm Romero by the mid-rounds, yet cynics recall De La Hoya's many predictions that didn't go as planned. Boxing's unpredictability is what makes it so thrilling. In an interview snippet, De La Hoya addresses the hush-hush subject of Garcia's doping allegations, deflecting blame and insisting it was a misunderstanding. He says that with the right discipline and better choices, Garcia can leave that nightmare behind for good. Reporters prod him about Devin Haney. De La Hoya shrugs as if to say, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, all that matters is the man in front of Garcia, Romero, who some call reckless but others see as a legitimate threat. When the cameras shift to Romero, he makes no effort to hide his intention to test Garcia's chin. The gym talk is that Garcia's whiskers haven't been truly tested outside a few scary moments in past fights. Romero vows to pressure Garcia from the first bell, hunting for that single shot that could flip the script. He references an old sparring session where he supposedly walked Garcia down. Garcia waves off that memory, calling it ancient history from another lifetime. But the chatter won't die, and fans debate whether those old stories hint at a hidden weakness. Even so, Ryan Garcia's confidence is tangible. The night before the fight, he appears on a small stage at a final press event, flashing that half grin. He says he's in shape and sharp, and that Romero can do whatever he wants. He won't break through. There's a steely edge to Garcia's voice that suggests he's done talking about controversies and doping. He promises to rewrite the narrative with a decisive victory, something so spectacular that the entire boxing world will forget any doubts. The moment arrives. Under the lights of Times Square, with an enormous screen magnifying every movement, Garcia and Romero step into the ring. The crowd roars, a pulsating heartbeat that resonates through the concrete beneath their feet. At ringside, the 50-year-old father and his three sons crane their necks to see over the mass of cheering fans. The father raises a small flag in the air, celebrating the global nature of this sport, while his sons film the fighters on their phones. The older man can't hide the grin on his face. He's been following boxing since childhood, and now in this iconic location, he can almost taste the tension. Garcia bounces lightly, eyes locked on Romero. The bell clangs and both men step forward. For the first minute, there's a cautious dance. Garcia flicks a jab, testing Romero's reflexes. Romero circles to his right, measuring distance, searching for that perfect opening to launch a power shot. Mayweather's advice echoes in Garcia's mind. Stay disciplined, don't get reckless. Swift footwork and head movement define the early exchanges. But that sense of control shatters when Romero explodes with a heavy overhand right that just grazes Garcia's temple. It's not a clean shot, but it rattles him enough to make the crowd gasp. Garcia backpedals, regains his footing, then answers with a scorching left hook that whistles past Romero's chin, missing by a hair. Even missing, it reminds the audience just how lethal Garcia's hook can be. The father in the crowd murmurs something in his native language, a quick exhalation of relief mixed with awe at how close either fighter came to turning out the lights. Time seems to blur, the second and third rounds speed by in a flurry of close calls and strategic jockeying. Garcia lands crisp combinations, but each time he does, Romero steps in with a heavy counter. Romero's attempts aren't always precise, but they carry frightening power. The fighter's corners shout instructions, emphasizing defense. Garcia's trainer yells for him to keep pumping his jab to control the ring's real estate. Romero's corner demands relentless pressure, telling him not to let Garcia breathe. At ring center, both men show flickers of brilliance and vulnerability. Garcia times a perfect straight right, snapping Romero's head back, drawing a collective gasp. A second later, Romero, unshaken, charges forward, cornering Garcia with a volley of body shots. People were expecting a one-sided masterclass, but instead they're getting a competitive back and forth that leaves everyone guessing. At that moment in the fifth round, the fight takes an unexpected turn. Romero feints a jab, then rips a left hook to the body. Garcia's eyes widen, clearly feeling the sting. He tries to clinch, but Romero shoves him off, launching another headshot. Garcia's knees buckle slightly. For a heartbeat, it looks like he might go down. A flurry of camera flashes erupts. Then, digging into reserves of stamina, Garcia returns fire with a combination that ends in that fabled left hook. It crashes into the side of Romero's skull, and suddenly Romero stumbles. The crowd surges to its feet. Romero, eyes glazed, tries to clinch. Garcia steps back and unleashes another hook, this time connecting with the jaw. It's surreal how fast the punch lands. The ring shakes as Romero's knees give out, and he drops to one side, reaching for the ropes. The referee rushes in, shouting the count. Blood pounds in everyone's ears. Garcia steps to a neutral corner, trembling from the adrenaline. Romero makes a valiant effort to rise, but his body refuses. The ref gets to 10, waves his arms, and it's over. The crowd explodes in cheers. Garcia leaps on the ropes, arms raised high, a moment of pure triumph washing over his face. Confetti cannons shoot bursts of color through the air, and Garcia's entourage fills the ring, hugging him, shouting his name. In the stands, the father from Pakistan claps in awe as his sons shout excitedly. All four lock eyes, realizing they've witnessed something special. A fight that felt tense from start to finish, culminating in a knockout that highlights why Garcia remains such a compelling star. Later, as reporters hustle to get quotes, Garcia stands there, sweaty and elated. He thanks Mayweather for the defensive insights, crediting the emphasis on fundamentals for helping him navigate Romero's attacks. He acknowledges De La Hoya's faith in him, praising the way the Golden Boy kept the hype alive even when so many doubted. Then someone mentions Devin Haney, the controversies, the no-contest ruling, and the doping fiasco. Garcia doesn't flinch. He says he's focused on the future. If the fans want the rematch with Haney, he's ready to prove himself. This time, he promises, there will be no excuses, no slip-ups, no cutting corners. He has a reputation to rebuild, and big fights are already on the horizon. Romero, still a bit unsteady, makes his own statement. He congratulates Garcia but vows to come back stronger. He hints that despite the loss, he's not leaving the game anytime soon. He insists that people will remember his performance, how close he was to rocking Garcia in those earlier rounds. Back in his locker room, he's heard telling his team they'll work on new strategies, new angles, and next time it'll be different. The boxing world has a way of questioning that, though. One clean knockout can linger like a dark cloud, and Romero needs to shake off the idea that he's destined to always be the near-miss underdog. The next morning, social media buzzes with clips of Garcia's knockout. Memes and highlight reels go viral. People debate whether Garcia is the next big thing or if he's still just one tough fight away from another controversy. De La Hoya openly calls for the Haney rematch, and rumor has it the negotiations have already started. Meanwhile, Teofimo Lopez and Gervonta Davis weigh in on the result, analyzing every second of the knockout and offering critiques on Romero's ring IQ. Fans dissect each jab, each feint, rewatching the sequence that led to the final knockout. The father and his three sons, having witnessed the action firsthand, host their own videos on social platforms. Their excitement resonates with other fans worldwide, bridging different languages and backgrounds through the universal thrill of boxing. They mention how they'll never forget the night they saw Times Square erupt in cheers for a single left hook. Mayweather, for his part, remains composed in post-fight interviews, nodding as he acknowledges the excitement Garcia generated. He points out small mistakes both fighters made, reiterating the importance of mental resilience. He explains that while Garcia's offense is spectacular, maintaining a near impenetrable defense is what transforms a great fighter into a legend. People who once dismissed Floyd's words as self-praise now listen carefully. Garcia's success tonight, in many ways, validates Mayweather's strategic blueprint. In the days following, controversies swirl again. Some question why Romero kept his guard so low at the critical moment. Others hypothesize that Garcia's improvement stems from disciplined training rather than raw talent alone. Discussion boards light up with speculation about the next mega fight, the next drama, the next moment that will have fans glued to their screens. Meanwhile, Garcia steps away from the public eye for a moment, letting the victory sink in. The taste of triumph is sweet, but the knowledge of how quickly glory can be lost looms in the back of his mind. He knows that in modern boxing, the next challenge is always just around the corner. Titles, endorsements, respect, it can all vanish if he slips even once. In quiet reflection, he remembers the nights he nearly sabotaged himself with poor decisions and wonders if he's done enough to change for good. Romero, too, goes back to the gym. People question his ability to handle top-tier competition. They say he's entertaining but flawed. He hears it all, absorbing each critique as fuel for the next training camp. He wants to prove there's more to him than unrefined power. Perhaps a new trainer, a new routine, a new approach, anything to reshape the conversation around him. Because in boxing, a single night of brilliance or calamity can define you for years. Yet for all the talk, one reality stands out. On that night in Times Square, Garcia and Romero gave spectators an electric moment of high-stakes warfare. The father and his sons went home talking nonstop about how they'd never forget the sound of that knockout punch echoing through the city. They passed those memories on to friends and relatives, praising both fighters for their courage. Garcia, flush with victory, eyes bigger challenges. The looming possibility of dethroning more established champions or avenging unfinished business with Devin Haney. He wants to quell the doubters who say his success is partly orchestrated. This fight, he believes, is proof that he doesn't duck adversity. He marches straight into it, fists raised, ready to test his limits. The hype is real, and so are the demands of living up to it. Yet the sport itself remains the biggest winner. Moments like Garcia's knockout keep fans buzzing. They remind everyone why boxing, in all its complicated, flawed glory, still captivates. The journey to become a legend requires more than talent. It demands resilience, a willingness to learn from mistakes, and a drive to stand at center ring, unwavering. Mayweather once said that greatness in boxing comes from balancing skill, heart, and the mental game. Tonight, Garcia showed flashes of having all three, but a single success doesn't insulate him from the dangers of arrogance or complacency. Those pitfalls have ruined countless talents before him. With the final echoes of the knockout still ringing, speculation turns toward the next event. Promoters scramble to line up marquee fights. Fans continue dissecting that fifth-round exchange, pointing out slight missteps and brilliant counters. History in this sport is built on what-ifs and next times. Garcia's victory answers some questions about his readiness and character, yet it sparks a dozen new ones. Will he dominate the division, or could he fall to another hungry contender who thrives on dismantling popular names? For now, though, the chatter belongs to him. He overcame an aggressive, unpredictable opponent with a combination of patience and explosive power. He displayed the mental fortitude Mayweather harped on, showing that he can handle pressure without panicking or throwing caution aside. That's a huge step forward for anyone eyeing the top tier of boxing, where each fight becomes a psychological duel as much as a physical one. Soon, the father and his three sons will board their flight home, replaying the knockout on their phones, laughing as they recall how everyone in the square erupted at once. They'll tell that story for years, describing how they felt the city vibrate beneath them when the punch landed. They'll remember how Garcia looked relieved, almost vulnerable, the moment the referee waved his arms to declare him the winner. They'll recall the small gestures that defined the sport. Mayweather's approving nod, De La Hoya's grin, Romero's determined expression even in defeat. Boxing's tapestry is woven from these vivid, fleeting moments, and fans become the caretakers of its stories. Garcia, gloved hands raised in triumph, feels the weight of 1,000 eyes on him. He stands at a crossroads. More money, more fame, more expectations. Behind him stretches a past he'd rather move on from: doping scandals, questionable decisions, public missteps. Ahead lies possibility: the Haney rematch, new titles, maybe even surpassing some of Mayweather's own records in years to come. The question remains: can he maintain his focus and withstand the mental battles that come with the territory of superstardom? No one knows for sure, but that uncertainty is what keeps everyone glued to the ring, waiting for the next bell. After all, anything can happen. And when that next chapter begins, fans from all walks of life, including that father and his sons from Pakistan, will be there to see it. Because boxing is more than just a sport. It's a grand theater where destinies are shaped under the spotlight, and each punch echoes with the promise, or the threat, of something extraordinary. So until the next showdown, everyone holds onto the images from tonight: a left hook that ended it all, a roar that shook Times Square, and the hint of an even more dramatic sequel waiting just around the corner.